Have you ever wanted to just drop everything and leave? Back in 2023, we agreed to a pretty crazy idea. We would leave our life in San Francisco, move in with my parents across the country, quit our dream jobs, and embark on a trip around the world. And this idea, which has been more than a year in the making, has officially begun. Come with us from Atlanta, Georgia to here, Bangkok, Thailand. Along the way, we'll talk about why we gave up our dream jobs and go over the questions that we've been asked the most. Let's get going. Our first step was getting to the Atlanta airport. Caleb and I have been living with my parents for the past 3 months to save money for this trip, and they were also kind enough to bring us to the airport this morning. After we said our goodbyes, we headed towards our gate. Okay, we just got through security at the Atlanta airport. We're starting our trip in Bangkok, Thailand, and we're taking 2 flights to get there. While we travel, we've compiled some questions that we think are the most interesting or that our friends and family have asked us the most, and we're going to be answering them along the way. Okay, question 1. What were our jobs before we quit, and what made them our dream jobs?
I was a software developer for an early stage startup. So what that means is really small. I started when there was only a handful of people. And I'd always wanted to work for an early stage startup and see all of the workings of how to start a business. And I always had this itch I wanted to scratch. And being able to live in the Bay Area and work for a startup as a kid from a small town in Florida was an incredible experience.
And I was working at a big accounting firm doing tax consulting. And what made this a dream job for me was that all throughout my school and my previous jobs, I was always kind of looking to achieve the next thing, the next level. And I saw these big firms as like the ultimate thing to achieve. I worked there for 2 years. And after that, I kind of had a moment of, well, I can keep trying to do this and keep going down this path. Or I can change and do something different before I get too far in my career. So now we're at the airport.
All right, our plane board's in 10 minutes. We gotta go. Appreciate it.
So our second question is why we quit our jobs. For me to answer that, I have to back up a couple years. I've always loved traveling. In college, I actually studied international affairs because I knew whatever job I ended up getting, I wanted travel to be involved in some way. And after I graduated, I actually got a job with the Peace Corps and was planning on living and working in Guatemala for 2 years with them. Unfortunately, that was in 2020. And I never actually got to start my trip. So after that, I started my consulting job. I felt burnt out pretty quickly. As I was getting ready to go, we started having more and more conversations about taking this trip, taking a year, and just traveling.
So for me, I am not as well traveled as Lindsey, but back in 2018, I took my first trip out of the country and went on a solo backpacking trip in Colombia. And I've had the travel bug ever since. So as Lindsey was starting to feel pretty burnt out on her job, we started having this conversation of just dropping everything and going to travel for a year. So I couldn't get that idea out of my head, and here we are.
Our first flight landed in Istanbul, Turkey. We had a 3-hour layover here before boarding our flight to Bangkok. We decided to head to one of the lounges to kill some time as we waited to board our second flight. But first, question number 3. Question number 3 is, what did the planning look like and how long did it take? We had an idea that we wanted to take this trip, but narrowing down which countries we wanted to go to and then which cities, figuring out what was affordable, what we could do, what transportation looked like, finding all of our accommodations. I've gotten about 6 months roughly planned right now. We have probably 3 months booked and planned. And then for the rest of the year, we're not really sure yet. We still have to figure that out. But Yeah, I'd say like 2 or 3 months full-time planning to get like half the year figured out. This place is huge. We don't understand military time, and now our flight says last call, so we're about to run to our gate.
Hopefully we make it.
The Istanbul airport is so big.
Oh my god, we literally just ran like a mile and a half. This place is huge. Feel bad for whoever's sitting next to us.
We made it. Bye, thank you.
I don't know if my legs were more sore after the marathon or this.
Hello, we're in Thailand. We've been here for the past 2 days. We were pretty wiped after the flight. We've been spending the past 2 days sleeping and getting over jet lag. We've also been staying with a family friend, so he's been kind enough to show us around a little bit and take us to some cool spots. That's what we've been up to, and we're gonna finish answering the questions now. We'll be walking around the city while we answer the rest of our questions, and our first stop is a coffee shop.
So our next question is, what was it like telling friends and family, and what did they think? My family's never really been out of the country, at least most of my family. So I think they were all a little worried for my safety, but I don't think anyone was that surprised that I'd want to do something like this. And Lindsey has a good habit of checking State Department ratings before we go places. So personally, I'm not that worried about it. I'm super grateful that I get to set this example for my little brother, especially. I know he looks up to me, and I want to show him that he can get out there and do cool things that are hard and take a lot of planning. Our friends are all really excited for us and have all pretty much said they want to come visit us during the trip. So hopefully we have some friends coming and joining us along the way.
My family's all been great and supportive and excited for us too. I think we talked a little bit about it before, but for the past 3 months we've been living with my parents so we could save up money and get ready for this trip. As supportive and excited as they are though, they're also of course nervous and a little worried for us. I've been trying to take that with a grain of salt though. I know people are worried for us and they're just trying to be helpful and make sure that we're safe, but I don't want it to stop us from exploring and seeing new places. We are sufficiently caffeinated and are heading to lunch now. So on the way, we'll answer the next question, which is, how much is this trip going to cost us? What's the budget for this trip? We have allotted $100 a day, so $50 per person per day. I think this budget is ambitious, but it's doable. This is gonna account for all of our expenses on the trip. So our accommodation, our transportation, food, activities, it'll be for everything. We're hoping by starting in Southeast Asia and staying way under budget now, we'll have a little bit more wiggle room for the second half of the year, wherever that may take us.
Is it?
I don't know what they are, but they're like gelatinous. It's crazy.
Okay, so our next question is, what did we do with all of our stuff? So, quick backstory. When Lindsay and I moved to San Francisco, we downsized from a 4-bedroom house to a 450 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. And to do that, we had to consolidate to a 5x8 U-Haul trailer. So when we moved from San Francisco to do this, to leave and travel around the world, we wanted to beat that. We wanted to pack everything into a 4x8 U-Haul trailer. So we sold everything we owned on, Facebook Marketplace, got rid of all of our furniture, my motorcycle, everything. And we were sure we would fit into a 4x8 U-Haul trailer. But the morning of, we put some tape on the wall, measured it out just to be sure, and had to call U-Haul the day we were supposed to pick the trailer up to get a 5x8 trailer because our stuff would not fit in the dimensions of a 4x8 trailer. So luckily they had one, and we picked up a 5x8 trailer, and our stuff just fit. So I don't know how we still own so much stuff, but the little bit we do still have is in Lindsay's parents' garage and attic. So luckily they have a ton of attic space, and we're able to hang on to our stuff for us. Also, we do have 2 pets, Luna and Olive. So they are having an extended stay at their grandparents, who love them and are taking great care of them. Lunch was great. So what we've learned in the last couple of days here is, if you're really on a tight budget, the best places to eat are either like food courts at malls or street food. And either of those places, you can definitely get a good meal for like under $2 per person. So we've actually eaten at the mall food court the last couple of days, but today we went to that restaurant, and there's a sit-down restaurant with an entree each and an appetizer, and it came in just under $10. So it was 337 baht, which is 3 baht less than $10.
Our next question is, where are we going on this trip? We mentioned earlier we don't have the whole thing planned out, but I can tell you a little bit about what we've got so far. We're starting in Southeast Asia, so Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Then we're going over to India for a few weeks and Nepal for a couple weeks after that. Then we're hopping around to a couple different countries in Asia before going over to the Middle East and Africa for some time. And after that, it's pretty wide open. We don't have any plans for the late fall, early winter time. We've considered going to Europe for a month or so, but it's gonna be pretty cold and we don't have a ton of cold weather clothing. We might go back to Asia. We're not sure. We're open to suggestions.
Okay, our last question. Where am I most excited for? This is gonna sound a little basic, but I think right now I have to say Bali. You have to understand, we've been living somewhere that's relentlessly chilly for the last 2.5 years. And I grew up in Florida where it's really hot all the time. So the idea of riding around on a tropical volcanic island on a dirt bike and going and exploring sounds like the coolest thing in the world to me. So I think that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to most, but we just have a lot of really cool stuff planned. So I'm excited for all of it.
This is by far the question that we get asked the most, and I'm still not entirely sure how to answer it. I think just being able to take a year off of work and travel is something I'm so grateful for. I'm just excited to see as many new places as I possibly can. So I think it's just hard for me to nail down one place in particular.
Okay, that's all the questions we could think of. If there's anything else you want to ask that we didn't answer, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See you next time.